Okay, y'all. So I am going to show you how to do a discharge medication reconciliation now. And this patient is going to be discharging home. And I'll show you where I start, and then I'll show you my thought process as I work through the discharge medication reconciliation tool. Okay. So the first thing that I do is actually go to notes and I cross reference once again during my hospital stay. This will be about the second or third time that I'll look at this note. And I'll say my physician, my pharmacy admin medication reconciliation note, and I'll look to see what medications they were taking and what medications they're not taking. And I'll verify that what I want them on going out the door is things that I anticipate prescribing. And occasionally you can have goofy things that happen. Like there was something that they'll be taking as a non VA medication, but they won't be taking that non VA medication. And so it could pop up as doubles. That happens a couple times here. And so this is where it becomes really important for the next step, which is to really clean up what you want the patient to go out on. Okay. So here, as we look, you can see that aspirin pops up here and a non-VA aspirin comes in there, right? And then here we said that the patient wasn't taking mirtazapine because it makes him feel funny. And sure enough, the pharmacist also was told that same thing um, when they did their reconciliation at time of admission. So the next thing I do is I go to the meds and I make sure that all of the meds reflect what I want the patient to actually be out on. Okay. And this is where I'll look at the expired meds too. And I'll actually discontinue expired meds that they aren't taking that I don't want them to take as well. Okay. So here I'm looking at the non VA meds, Tylenol, aspirin, garlic oil. Wasn't taking those. The aspirin was a prescribed 81. So I'm discontinuing those. So I just go to these and then I hit discontinue. I can click that control button and highlight multiples at a time. The mirtazapine they weren't taking, so I'm going to discontinue this before they discharge so that it shows up that they will be discontinued. And then the other thing that I actually did was I did a couple things here and I prescribed amlodipine at a lower dose. If you recall, the amlodipine was at 5 milligrams and now it's at 10 milligrams. And then I added on hydralazine. So the way that I did that was I selected my amlodipine and I hit change. So that's a right click there. And then I select whatever dose I want to be changed to. So it was at 5, I changed to 10. That is something that I've previously done, but I will go ahead and do that again for demonstration purposes. And then the hydralazine, what I want to do is so the hydralazine, I did this prior to the video, but what I can do is I can take it from the inpatient. If I want them to go out on that medication, now I can just go to the same actions that was up there when you transfer it to inpatient and go the other way and transfer it to outpatient. And it will say, do you want to do it now or do you want to do it later? And for these purposes, I want to do it now. And I'll go ahead and say, do the hydralazine 12.5 TID, and I want it to be a window pickup for 30 days. So now that's that. And then it's saying, you already did this. Do you really want to do it again? And actually, in this situation, I won't. But if this is my first time doing it, I'll accept. So I'll go ahead and hit cancel there. So that's the big thing. That's the big first step, is to make sure that whatever medications you want them to go out on are the medications that are accurately prescribed. And then you want to make sure that you're looking over all of these. And this is saying, hey, you got duplicate orders again. You have the 10 milligrams. And so you want to just make sure that you look this over and that there's no errors that are a problem. So then the next thing that I do is I say, okay, the medications look as good to me as I can make them look right now. And my next objective, so when you're doing a medication reconciliation, remember there's only two things that matter. One is that you get it right, and two is that the patient understands what to do once they leave. And so the nice thing about that medication reconciliation tool is we've done our part, which is get it right. The next part is to make sure that the patient can understand that. And that's where the medication reconciliation tool comes in, which is what we're going to go over now. So in order to do your medication reconciliation tool, you can go up to here, tools, medication, and then we're going to discharge this patient home. Okay. And the idea is it will load up the medication reconciliation tool here. And we now want to make sure that it's the most uh, clearly understood document that a patient could get. So I'm actually going to start over. So I had started working a little bit earlier on it, but I'm going to go ahead and clear the changes. So here we are. Black is outpatient, red is inpatient. And the key is you really want to make it clear to the patient what's going on. So these are discontinued older doses. And what I really want to relay to them is that there's a change in the dose. And so what I'll do, you can do a couple things. And The idea is that you can always go back and change it if your mother or your father or some person that you know who is not medically 100% literate, if they would interpret the document appropriately, then you know that you've got the right appearance after the med rec. Okay. So here, I just want to say this is a new dose, and I'll just write changed from 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams. So this is a new dose, and then I lay out how it's changed. If I wanted to, I could go to this dose, which I've discontinued, and click that that's an old dose. But to be honest with you, I don't do that, even though I think that by definition you're supposed to. The reason I don't do that is because now you have it listed a couple times over, and that can introduce some confusion to the patient. And so what I just do is I say, duplicate, omit, not taking. What it does is it omits it from that document. Okay. So if I don't put it on that document, it won't be there. And so I'm going to omit this amlodipine as well. So then the next thing is this hydralazine, if you recall, is a new medication. So I can click that new there, or even more efficiently, I can hit N for new. And then I like to just say, for whatever the reason is, hypertension. I know it's written over there, but it's just a habit that I've got. This lisinopril is a continue here. I'm sorry, I hit the duplicate, not to, so continue, the C button. And then this hydrochlorothiazide, lisinopril, is discontinued. It was a non-VA medication. Let's say they don't, let's say that they're not taking it or they don't have it or whatever. I could write discontinue there if the patient's like, oh, I have those pills at home. But if they don't have those pills at home, then I can just say omit, don't even mention this to the patient. But for this purposes, I'll say discontinue, and I'll say now on lisinopril single agent. So I like to add a small reason for why it says discontinue there. So now I'll go here. Spironolactone is a continue, so that's a C. And the vast majority there is going to be continues. So continue, continue. This is another one that I discontinued. In this situation, I don't need to show them that we're discontinuing the 325. I can by hitting the same S to discontinue, and it will pop in that way. Or I can hit X and not show it to them. And I choose to hit X at this point. And then albuterol will continue, atorvastatin will continue. You see how fast it gets when you begin to get into this rhythm of how to use the quick buttons to kind of move your process along. The nice thing is also I can cross-reference any inpatient medications against any outpatient medications because they get listed alphabetical. So I can make sure that what I wanted to order as an outpatient, if they were getting it as an inpatient, this is another opportunity to make sure that I get it right in the first place. Mirtazapine, this is one that I want to actually have them say discontinued because they had it at home. They're not taking any more. I don't want to send it out on this. So I can say discontinue, no longer taking slash needed if I feel like that's in the clinical, if that's in my clinical judgment. Now here, I could hit discontinue for both of these, but that just adds an element of confusion once again. So here, what I'll do is I'll actually hit the X button to omit. And then this aspirin here, I'm sorry, this Tylenol will come up again there. Do you see that? So I'm going to go ahead and omit that one, but this one I'm going to continue, and then I'm going to continue the gabapentin as written, continue the hydrocortisone. Then I'm going to continue the famotidine. We can continue the acai berry. The garlic oil, we can either say discontinue there, no longer taking. And the Synthroid is this dose here. 25 is what they were on. 25 is what they're in hospital. That was unchanged, so we're going to continue that. So now I've got this completed. The next thing I want to do is I want to say physician review is completed, and I want to copy to clipboard. And so what this does is it generates a really nice summary for the patient. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the only thing that really matters because this is what the patient will see. And so what you want to do is you really want to process this as a layperson. You want to say, would a layperson understand this document? And so new medication, got it. Changes, got it. Continue these unchanged, and then stop taking these. And all the ones that I omitted, the extra amlodipines and the extra Tylenol, they're not even presented to the patient because in my impression, the only thing it will do will be add confusion. So I can go here and I can select the whole thing and copy, and that's just the Control C. The other thing I can do is I can hit copy to clipboard there, and it will copy. Then I'm ready to go to my medication reconciliation note. So I go here and I click a new note. and then I go to discharge home. So that's this discharge medication reconciliation note there. And then it will say, hey, the med admin rec was done. Do you want to double check it? And you can look here, and we already did that as our first step, which it should be your first step also. And then you want to say, hey, as I get done, I want you guys to call me. I will go ahead and put my number in there. And then if you can't get a hold of me, reach out to me on Teams or Vocera Team 3. And then here, I'm discharging to home. And then I've reviewed the allergies. They're not taking warfarin. Inpatient medications. Are there any scheduled inpatient medications that will be discontinued? No, they will be discontinued after the person discharges. And then on IV antibiotics, the answer is no. And then the last thing to click is this medication reconciliation consult, which is the discharge home reconciliation consult. And it says, okay, we've generated the note that now you have to use. And so the last thing that I have to do here is I have to select essentially when they're going to discharge so that the pharmacist can be aware so they can do their medication reconciliation with the patient at the bedside, which is awesome. The pharmacists here, and if this goes onto YouTube, in most VAs that I've encountered, are absolutely phenomenal. So I go here and it says, hey, copy your entire note. So don't just copy the meds, copy the entire note, and this will hit my control V. And then I check to see if this, once again, is the correct patient, the correct drugs, that all this stuff looks good. And if it does, now I'm good to just sign this note, or I like to hit refresh because I want to sign that consult at the same time. And so all of those elements are the things that you need to do in order to discharge a patient home safely. So with 100% accuracy of their medications. And secondly, with the most easy to understand discharge medication note possible. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it improves patient care universally, Cincinnati and beyond. But realistically, I just wanted to show you that if you take nothing else from this video because you knew everything, maybe the hotkeys is something that's really useful for you, because most of the time you're just hitting the C continue, or you're hitting the D dose change or something along those lines. So thank you so much. If you're interested, the next video will be discharged to a nursing home facility.